Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Selma. NAMPOA is the Namibian Petroleum Operators Association. So it's the association that groups all the operators and companies that are in the upstream, the ones that hold or are partners to the license with the government. So it's quite an old association. So it goes back to 30 years, and we've embarked a journey to take it to the next level because of the discoveries in Namibia and so much it's at stake, and it demands a lot of cooperation among the operators, among service providers, among the government, about partnerships that we were talking earlier. So it's really important to have a real focus on the key items of the agenda, to all of us push together what needs to be done to ensure that Namibia maintains its competitive status. I call it the Namibia investment case. It stays up in the top so that it keeps getting the investment that it has been receiving in the last years. So we have a total of 12 companies associated to it. We hired recently an administrative coordinator. We're in the process of hiring a executive director, and it's all the advocacy points related to the industry. Of course, we have very strict antitrust measures, so making sure that no competitive sensitive information is shared, but it's all more on the general topics regarding the agenda that we had set forward. Well, one of the things is reputation, right? So I think the track record of Namibia speaks by itself. So it's a country that has built a reputation to have positive encouragement on investors. And you see the results in Namibia, where all the companies that you have right now exploring in the Orange Basin and some blocks. Actually, Orange Basin, Walvis Basin, and the Namib Basin. You have companies with acreage in all those blocks, but most of the activity has been done in the Orange Basin. So Namibia has done a great job putting the Petroleum Act together, having competitive fiscal terms, and having that investor confidence that has us all here. So the base is quite good, and as I tell you, the agenda of NAMPOA, it tells you that it's not a very extensive agenda. So that means that what you have been doing, you're doing it well. So just keep doing it, and let's focus on the areas where we can have some continuous improvement to benefit the country, but as well benefit the investors. And we have to find that common ground. Okay. So in Nampoa, we have six, we call them work streams. The first in the agenda is local content. So how, as an industry, we work together to ensure that there is proper local content policy in place to benefit Namibians, but as well to maintain the competitiveness of the sector. And we have to find that common ground. And I guess the most important message there is that it just needs to be a phased approach. And we need to understand in what phase of the oil and gas cycle we are, so that we have prudent policy, so that local companies don't overinvest and have the high risk of not knowing what's going to happen. So we have to work. Fortunately, the industry, I think, has behaved and reacted very well. You have the service companies that are doing an amazing job hiring Namibians, preparing contractors, and I think the ecosystem is working well on that. And on that agenda of local content, for example, Petrofund is in the center. So I think we need to work together with Petrofund so that they're training the people that are going to service the industry, and that everything is coordinated. And then another, I think, is a best practice of Namibia is the industry baseline study, which we did a first study which shows workforce and supplier of Namibians. We're going to try to make it an evergreen document so that it is the roadmap that we can all look at it. where depending on what phase of the cycle we are, what is the supply and what is the demand. So we're working in a coordinated manner. So I think with the cooperation of the government, the local content policy, we are working. The government is working with the communities. They socialize the local content policy with us. We gave feedback. So and that's the beauty of Namibia, that there's dialogue, that there's contribution, that we're trying to understand what is needed, and I think that's a unique competitive advantage of Namibia, which we highly encourage to keep the dialogue, so we have proper policy that benefits both the country and the investor and the industry. Yeah, so it's a process. So companies have databases, so registering into the company so they understand what is required and what is needed, but understand as well the risk, right? Because remember that Namibia, there's yet not a project commission, the final FID, final investment decision. A final investment decision is one project, so it's not really an industry. So let's say, for example, a catering company, and they buy all these requirements to comply with everything, and then they get certain financial commitments, but then the continuity of the demand is not there, then you will put a financial strain on local companies. And so it needs to be properly phased. And I think the key word here, Selma, is phase. But you have, almost every service provider is already in Namibia. Even service providers that are further in the stage have set up offices. They're hiring people. So you're seeing already certain international service companies taking the risks in advance and trying to project for the future. But that has to be taken with caution because overinvestment or investing can cause a harm to local companies. So we have to be prudent on that. That's why we think that with a proper industry baseline study is going to be a nice roadmap for companies to see what competences are needed and what is required at what phase so that they can project going forward, as well as for the youth to understand, okay, what should I study? Should I study petroleum engineer or should I study mechanical engineer or electrical engineer? So an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer has more versatility that can work in other industries than just specifically oil and gas. But then once you have an industry, then you can specialize. So it's about having discussions, approaching companies, having these conversations. So this dialogue, Selma, is very important so that we all educate ourselves and we understand what are the local capabilities, but also the local capabilities understand the industry and what are the real opportunities to invest wisely. And we need to communicate a little bit better and try to find out, but it's not easy because it's a fragmented industry. So we have to understand as well, how do we gather what is being done in local content so that we can understand we started here, we're there, and we're going that direction. So that's something that's a new one that we're adding into it. The second one is more operational, and it's about work permits and visas, and how do you expedite that process so it addresses the needs and the versatility that the industry needs at this early stage. So we've had a lot of activity. It's a process that works, but we're trying to understand together with the government how we can make it more efficient and less cumbersome, because it's also a strain for the ministry and all this stress and all that. So we're trying to see how we can make it easier for both parties. No, the cause of the delay is that there's many people that are coming in. Namibia has specific immigration laws, and they have to fulfill, and the ministry has to abide to those laws, which were not designed for this type of situation. No, so just to give you a very example, so you're the conference, Namibia International Energy Conference. You're having a senior executive from IOC that wants to talk in the conference. As it is, it's required, you require a work permit, right? And to get a work permit, it's a challenging process and it requires a lot. So then at the end, it's, you know, I then you might miss opportunities of having these senior people coming here, understanding, feeling the nature, understanding the beauty of this conference, and so these are things that could be streamlined, but that will not add reserves and oil to the country. More on the specifics of a rig coming in, for example, with a crew, and rigs are as we are in the exploration phase, they come from crews from different parts, and they're just rotating from one country to the another one. So that process, it's done, but it takes time, and sometimes you need a mechanic because something is wrong, and you need it right away. And then the process to getting the work permit, it might take some time, and if there's a delay because of that specific person, the costs are humongous. No, partnership is clear, is key. No, so the most important partnership is the operators with the government, right? It is, yes, we have a contract, but it has to be a partnership, and these laws were created 30 years ago, assuming that something was going to happen to the best of the knowledge, which they did a great job. But then you find oil, and then you have a reality. So it is how we discuss as partners. So there's that trust that I understand the country's point of view, but the country understand the point of view of the investor, because these are it's a global capital. Namibia is competing for capital with other countries. So the country that has it right will increase its chances of getting more investment. And the more investment you have, the more chances you will have. So if there's not that dialogue and we don't create that trust, then it will slow down, and then the chances of success will be reduced. But there's many other stakeholders involved. There's academia, so we need to make partnerships with UNAM, with NUST, as we have it with the TVET schools. It is very important that we partner and we work together with them. It is very important that we have partnership with service operators. There's a new association called COGANAM, which groups the service operators. So they are also trying to work together with us, so that instead of the petroleum commissioner talking to 50 companies, if she can talk to 2 or 3 organizations at the same time with the same issues, that brings efficiency to the petroleum commissioner, that she doesn't have to talk to all these companies, and then we can address it in one meeting, and we're all pushing the same direction. So partnerships here is the most important part. If we don't work all together, then it just becomes harder. And becoming harder, it doesn't become impossible, but it just becomes slower, increases the country risk. As if it increases the country risk, is extra burdens that we could reduce to make it more competitive, right? So it could be a vicious circle, or it could be a virtuous circle. We're trying to make it a virtuous circle.